The way museums grant images cultural capital and the way social media grants images cultural capital are opposites of each other. All the things that make a museum, from limited wall space to limited exhibition time schedules to specified curatorial taste to attributed authorship to historically preserved private property to contextual placement, are all the things that social media offers an alternative to. One way of articulating the difference between museums and social media would be to emphasize how museums operate according to scarcity while social media thrives on ubiquity. A museum is an institution that grants legitimacy not because everyone can be a part of it. It is institutional critique 101 to point out that museums are run by individuals with tastes that are often exclusionary, short-sighted, or driven by profit. Boom, boom. I'm ambivalent to these facts, but it's worth mentioning in comparison to social media, which is a space open to a much larger number of participants who operate in a horizontal mode of communication governed by the architecture of website interfaces and terms of service. Unlike museums, social media's ability to collect and disseminate images is effectually limitless and without curatorial constraint of any kind, unless you're posting nude selfies on Instagram, in which case the patriarchal hand of Silicon Valley will most certainly oppress your creative will. Another way to frame the difference between museums and social media is to say that museums promote the reification of ideas, while social media promotes the contestation of ideas. When something is displayed by a museum, it is meant to be understood as an absolute, a work to be included in the history books and understood according to a neatly organized wall text. If the museum is a closed history book, then social media is a flame thread. An image posted through social media takes on as many interpretations as possible, whether through comment sections, reblogs, or photoshoppings. The wide range of interpretations images received through social media can be attributed to the way decentralized social platforms have the tendency of moving content outside the place it originated from. These audiences share images and videos initially conceived as artworks without any concern for authorship, context, or property, without any particular awareness that they are engaging with art at all. That is, they are art audiences by accident. One way to conceptualize the accidental art audience's relationship with context and property is through David Josselit's idea of image fundamentalism and image neoliberalism, terms he borrows from political analysis to describe competing visions of where art must be located in order for its meaning to be authentically embodied. For the image fundamentalist, art's meaning is inseparably tied to its place of origin through historic or religious significance. To remove the art from its home is to sever its ties with the context that grants the work its aura. For the image neoliberal, art is a universal cultural product that should be free to travel wherever the market or museums take it. Meaning is created through a work's ability to reach the widest audience and not through any particular location at which it's viewed. Image fundamentalists see the right to property as being granted at birth through cultural or geographic specificity, while for neoliberals, art status as property is ensured through a work's ability to be sold, traded, or gifted like any other thing owned in a market economy. The accidental audience's attitude towards what it sees is deeply predicated on the neoliberal vision of cultural migration. But its willingness to strip images of their status as property is so aggressive that it deserves a term of its own, image anarchism. Whereas image fundamentalists and image neoliberals disagree over how art becomes property, image anarchists behave as though intellectual property is not property at all. While the image neoliberal still believes in the power, and the owner as the steward of globally migratory artworks, the image anarchist reflects a generational difference towards intellectual property, regarding it as a bureaucratically regulated construct. This indifference stems from file sharing. It stems to the de-authored, decontextualized Tumblr post. Image anarchism is the path that leads art to exist outside the context of art. At this point, we'll be taking a break. Okay, the break is over. To demonstrate image anarchism, I'm going to be talking about Jogging, a blog I co-founded with Lauren Christensen in 2009. Jogging's most recent 300 posts have been made largely by the artist Edward Schenk and myself, and consists of imagery found on the far right-wing message boards and Facebook groups. These images posted on Jogging most aggressively intend to solicit a wide range of audience interpretations. These images are calculated perversions of diagrammatic reasoning present in viral far-right-wing imagery meant to resemble those memes and their structure as closely as possible while ultimately rewarding the viewer with nothing but nonsense for making their way through the image. These are not ironic proposals of new conspiracies, but a syntactical dismantling of visual if-then sequences. The work channels the paradoxical disposition of far right-wing groups who, on one hand, can't believe everyone hasn't woken up to the insidious consequences of Barack Hussein Obama's America, while on the other hand, believe they are passing along top-secret information that has been willfully kept out of the public eye by the mainstream, lamestream media. The paradoxical disposition extends to a belief that the public, or the sheeple as they are referred to, remain intentionally oblivious to the political world around them and are the cause of the world's evils, while simultaneously believing that a populist overthrow of the government by those same sheeple is the answer to Hussein's tyranny. As Boris Groys said, after the death of God, we now have only conspiracy theory. Like religious belief, far-right conspiracy theorists must at some point interject faith as the backing to their beliefs where the facts run dry or where the facts have been omitted by the government or media. In this way, conspiracy theory and fan fiction have much in common, as they both seek to describe an obsessive vision that is somehow beyond given reality. Some jogging followers understand these gargled spam bot images to be a formal recomposition of their source material. But the images have caused much confusion among jogging's large accidental audience, drawing ire from many who are able to discern the image are nonsense, but believing they are sincere attempts rather than artistic interpretations. They reblog the images to zealously point out their logical flaws and correct Schenk and I where they believe we've been misinformed. Perhaps the most far-reaching interpretation of the images Schenk and I created is when popular far right-wing Facebook group Barack Obama's Dead Fly began sportively posting jogging images last month, collecting them as indicative of their beliefs. In addition to the 300,000 plus followers the page has, some of the images received nearly 50 shares on Facebook, making a sincere far right-wing audience for these images arguably the largest they have. In my view, these are self-evidently nonsensical images served as sugar in the gas tank for far right-wing pages and causes, diluting their stream with misinformation and patently false or unintelligible content. I'm wrapping up. The retrieval and display of these widely varying yet coexisting responses constitute the relational value of the work and as it exists in social media. I bring this work up because it is a type of art that willfully engages the contested territories of image meanings in digital space in a way that would be antithetical to a museum's means of enforcing a singular vision of art's historical importance. Images like this and their corresponding responses point to a socially mediated environment where the meaning of art is not found in its ability to be hegemonically or historically enforced by an art institution, but instead located in contested territory open to use by publics outside of art's own participants. Thank you.
So that truly was the speed of social media, or even slow for social media, probably.